We're out on the golf course at Hawks Landing in Southington, where there are quite a few individuals who golf here with organizations who have special needs. And when an individual is separated from their caregiver, there might be a volunteer with them, and if this individual gets hurt or has a meltdown, they may not know what to do. So the VIF app gives them instant access on how to handle that individual. Another important use for the VIF app is for parents who are exhausted and they use respite care for their child or adult. The respite care worker the night before can go through the app. They're invited in through the support network. They can understand thoroughly the individual before they care for them, and it just makes for a nice transition.
And as Holly mentioned about the app, when someone might become separated from their caregiver, one of the features is the de-escalation feature. And sometimes in a situation where it becomes heightened, and an individual may not know how to de-escalate critical care for that person. This app is easily accessed, instant care. You pull the app up, hit a button, find out how to de-escalate and how to care for that person. Another feature that we have is that the VIF app is also multilingual. We offer Spanish at this time. That's one of the features that's going to be enhanced shortly, and then we're going to add other languages continually on an as-needed basis.
In the late 60s, they started building this, and I believe I-84 was getting built at the same time. They used a lot of material from this golf course for I-84. But they built this neighborhood, and they built the front nine, I believe in like 1967, 8 or 9, somewhere in that range. And then a couple of years later, in the early 70s, they built the back nine, which is where we're headed right now.
My name is Holly Doherty, and I'm the president of VIF, which is Vital Information at Your Fingertips. I'm a nurse who has had many years of experience in care planning and caring for people with dementia or Alzheimer's or children with special needs. But I'm also a mother of an adult son on the autism spectrum. So through years of frustration as a mother, going into 7 different providers with my son, being referred here, being referred there, going into PPTs at school, and really the most frustrating thing is I'd get there and no one would have the information from the last appointment, and they'd always ask me, well, what did they say? Well, I couldn't remember what happened 5 minutes ago, never mind what that particular speech therapist or physician had to say. So I decided what I had to do was create a really simple way for parents like me and parents of all special needs people. Now again, that's not just children with intellectual disabilities, that could be an adult with Alzheimer's or dementia. If you're a caregiver for someone with special needs, the frustration of trying to consolidate information, but also bring across the essence of that individual. They are unique individuals, and if you're the caregiver, you know the little things that are important or that will set them off, or how to handle them, how to reduce that stress. So I created this really simple care planning system that has photos, video, but very simple to answer script questions so that you can draw a picture of that individual's life. Now, if something changes tomorrow, you go in for a new doctor's appointment and there's suddenly a new diagnosis, you go into your app and simply update it right there. There's no written words that you have to do. There's no calling this one or that one. Our app has the ability for you to create a support network, and anyone who has anything to do with your child or your adult who needs care, you can invite them into that secure, personal support network, and you can provide them with any information that they would need to care for the individual. They also have the ability, if you allow it, for them to make notes, to update charts, and it just is a way for families who may be in another state or a a sibling who is working full-time and it just doesn't have a whole lot of time to help you, they can go in and just see what's going on a daily basis. My son, who is now an adult but still isn't really capable of understanding medical terms and going into a doctor by himself, during COVID, he injured his leg and we had to bring him to the emergency department. And I wasn't allowed to go in. So he was in there, he has anxiety, he was heightened, he was frightened, he wasn't able to communicate. So after the many hours of him being in there, he came out and wasn't able to give me any information other than the discharge summary that I was given. It also said he had to go for physical therapy. So we set up the physical therapy. Well, I wasn't allowed to go in again. So he went into physical therapy the next day, and they fitted him with this brand new brace. Now, as a nurse, I've worked with braces many times, but this was brand new, and I had no idea how to apply it to his leg. And he came home and he was heightened and crying again because we didn't know how to do this. So I told him, take your app. With VIF, you have a caregiver's app, and the person being cared for has something called My VIF. It's a very simple version of the app. And he went in and he told his physical therapist he had this app, and he said, may I video you applying the app and talking about the exercises that you want me to do at home? And the physical therapist just thought it was wonderful. Jack videoed him putting the brace on, videoed the exercises that he was to do at home, came home thrilled to show me. He was relaxed, and we didn't have any of the heightened stuff that we typically do with someone who's frustrated not being able to care for themselves. Now, when we designed this app, we designed it for someone who really may not know a lot about technology, so it is very simple. Touch screen, you can do voice to text, you can video and answer, you can audio answer, so it's very simple for the person being cared for or the caregiver to use. Now, as Jack was growing up, he had a physical therapist, he had a speech therapist, he had an occupational therapist, he had a family therapist, he had neuropsych, and he had a pediatrician. And whenever I went to ask for information, they say, oh, just go to the portal. Well, as a mother who is, never mind having 3 kids, other kids with sports, and then Jack and all of the other lifetime things that are going on, there's no way I could go to 7 portals, remember 7 passwords, go in and get that information. That is just asking way too much of a caregiver of a special needs person. There's just too much information. So our app, we designed it specifically for you and to make it simple, to put those documents in. So when I went from speech therapy to occupational therapy, and they said, well, tell me, what type of work they're doing, I was able to just open it up and show it. But also by inviting them into my support network, they can go in by themselves and look, not even asking. And I'll tell you one thing our pediatrician told us. She said, when I'm done with my day, I look at my patients for the next day. And if I look and I see I have a brand new patient who has special needs, she said the chart is about this big and I have 1 hour with that individual. She said there is no way that I can go through this and give this person excellent care. And she said when she looked at our app and saw, okay, I can go right to diet, I can go right to diagnosis, I can go right to sleep pattern, I can go to social, she said it just makes the physician's job that much easier, but also she knew something about that individual before they even got in for their appointment.
Hi, I'm Dan Paradis. I was born in Maine, but I've been a Southington resident pretty much my entire life. I've been working in the computer and IT world since 1980. Had my own software company that I sold in 1997. Went into the golf course world at that point. About 4 or 5 years ago, Dan and Holly approached me with an idea of software that they thought would revolutionize the special needs caregiver world. And I was interested, but when I really thought it through, it was like I'd waited, I'd love to get back into the software world, and something like this where software would help pretty much anybody in the world. In other words, almost anybody in the world would benefit from using the software. I was really excited about that. So we embarked on this venture. We've been working on it over 4 years now. We have an app that I believe is incredible. We have developed it, and it's now on the App Store and also on the Android Play Store. VIF is really a remarkable app, especially for the caregiver. I'm excited about the development part of it. Being involved in the design was great. I'm working with a great team. They originally were out of New Haven, Connecticut. They are the developers. I pretty much would go through the screens, work with Dan and Holly. We come up with ideas. We had a great beta test team. The software was released about a year ago, and it's doing remarkable. We're really excited about it. The user base would be, it could be anybody, but picture, I'll give you two good examples, and I'll give a real world example in my life. I never dreamed that I would be using this app for my dad. About 2 years into the development, my dad had a stroke, and we immediately, got him onto the app, mostly because all the feature benefits were obvious, but this one here was really exciting and made my life a lot easier, which was I was getting text messages and phone calls every day. How's your dad doing? How's your dad doing? What made it easier for me was I had my father on the VIF app. I invited all my relatives, friends, family, everybody would call, and I invited them. They became part of the support network. All they had to do was download the app and pretty much just wait for us to send updates. So I would go on, there's a chat feature where I would go on and post an update every day. Dad's doing well, he's doing okay, and they would get the message automatically. We could all chat together, which was pretty neat. They'd ask questions. And also what I thought was great was I did have some relatives to join later on. My cousin Rose happened to ask about the app later on, maybe 3 or 6 months after we had already been using it. She was able to go back and read all the chats prior history for the 6 months and get up to date as to what's going on. Another neat feature that my dad liked is he was able to speak and wish all the moms happy Mother's Day. So within the VIF app, we used the video ID feature, which recorded him saying happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. And then we sent out an alert through the VIF app to all the moms, and they were all excited to see my father talking and saying hello. So that was a feature on the, again, unexpected to be able to use it for that. But for other people, caregivers, it's just really difficult to keep paper documents, try to keep up to date with your family, records and everything. All of that is stored in the VIF app now. So another example was my sister and my wife are both administrators on my father's account. They took my father to a doctor's appointment, and I think we didn't have the COVID card. They didn't have it with them. So they were able to go into the app, go into the documents feature. You see his COVID card there, also all his medical history and information, all available no matter where we are. So that made it really exciting for us. And picture, originally we were looking at special needs, for example, Special Olympics Connecticut. Their athletes are out in the field. I forgot the name of I was trying to think of the name of their not caregivers, but coordinator. Okay, Special Olympics athletes are out in the field. The local coordinators are taking care of them. They might carry around a backpack with all kinds of information. Most of it is probably outdated, very insecure in that if they lose that backpack, all this information is available. These local coordinators now can have all their athletes available on the VIF app, so if anything happens, they immediately have access. On the technical side, I'm excited about the fact that it's cloud-based, data is encrypted, in transit and in storage, so it's very secure. The only people who get access to it are the people who are invited by the support network administrator. So that made it a lot easier for us to share information with whoever you want. It could be even your doctor. You could limit their access, read only. They can have access just for a day. So it really puts a lot of power in the hands of the caregiver.
My name is Dan Laporte, and I'm part of the VIF team. I'm involved in the marketing of our special needs application. I've been involved with VIF for approximately 4 years, developing this software. And the past 6 months, we've been out there marketing it and offering it to communities, police departments, and organizations that deal with people with special needs. My original involvement, I got introduced to Holly Doherty, who this was her brainchild about developing an app for those with special needs. She has a child with autism, and it was explaining to me the frustrations and the difficulties parents have and caregivers have with raising children with special needs. I was involved with Special Olympics approximately 35 years ago. I did get involved with them, volunteered at different events throughout the years, and also I was involved with a friend of mine who has a brother with Down syndrome. And we grew up with him, and we took him to softball games. We were all on a softball team, and he would come and join us and travel throughout the East Coast on weekends. And Greg, he's a great guy, and he's 60 years old now, and he's quite a person. So when I found out about this app through Holly and her idea, I introduced her to one of my business partners, Dan Paradis. He's a software developer. So we got together and found that this would be a great need for people with special needs. My wife was also a paraprofessional in the Southington school system for people with special needs, and she was doing that for approximately 15 years. I told her about the app, and after explaining it to her, she said this would be very valuable for school systems, police departments. So that's my involvement and how I got started with it. For police departments to use it, some of the difficulties they have is identifying a person with special needs. If they pull someone over and they're driving, they may not be aware of certain instances where this person might have a special need and might not be able to communicate properly. They might get nervous, and an officer might find out that they're being combative, but it's not. It's just that it's their disability that is creating the situation. So we've created a way in a registry for police departments to get the person's name, go on a registry, find out about that person and how to deal with it and how to de-escalate the situation. We've also found that in school systems, a lot of school districts still carry around paper files in notebooks, and they're not aware of the person's needs. So if they can find this information very quickly by going onto the app, putting in the person's name, the information about that person with special needs will come up, how to handle the situation, the triggers that they may have, how to avoid them, and understand the person so they could de-escalate the situation. I was on the board at the Main Street Community Foundation, which is located in Bristol, and they help out the surrounding communities, and Southington is one of them. I found out that Your Community Cares received a grant from the Main Street Foundation. I contacted Michelle Puzo, and we talked about it, and I wanted to find out more about what her organization does for people with special needs. And after speaking with her, a lengthy conversation, we felt that it'd be a great synergy to join, since a lot of our paths are crossed and fulfill the same needs. So we've been working together, and it's been a great relationship, and we keep moving forward.
The beauty of the app is that if the caregiver is separated from the individual they're caring for, whoever the volunteer is, or whoever the teacher, whoever's with this child or adult, has instant access on how to approach them, how to care for them, and also how to contact their support network. So that's a really big asset in having the VIF app.
Another feature of the VIF app is safety and peace of mind for the caregiver. One of the main concerns caregivers have is in their absence, who's going to care for their loved one when they're not there. So that's one of the great features that we like about the VIF app.
VIF was designed using Amazon Web Services and all the security support that comes along with it. VIF can support millions of users all over the world. For more information, go to www.vifcare.com.